What is going on, guys? We're back at it again with another episode of True Capacity Talks with your boy James. And today I have someone that has been in and out of my life for the last, I guess, 18, 24 months, more or less. Right? We actually met at a company that I hired to help me with some online stuff. This was my coach. I thought it was very important to bring her on the podcast to talk about her own coaching journey, to talk about how she's helping people out there in the online and in-person space. And, she's recently married, tons of new developments in her life. Business is booming, stuff is happening. She's doing what she needs to do. Christy, thank you so much for making the time today. How are you doing?
I am doing great. Thank you for having me. Super excited to be here and just shoot the shit.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you making the time. I want to kind of dive into it. Where did Full Fit Experience come from? And I I kind of want to go into a little bit of that and the second business that you've started. But first and foremost, how the heck did you get here running your own team? Starting as a solo, running a team, back to a place where you're at right now, where you're full steam ahead solo. How did this start?
So I got into coaching very young, in-person coaching when I was 20 years old. Was a personal trainer at 24 Hour Fitness, just had no clue what I was doing, got a little certification and then just started training people. And you can imagine as a 20-year-old female in a gym being like, I know I'm the expert here. It's a little intimidating, but I knew that it was what I wanted to do. So worked in gyms for several years, worked at strength and conditioning facilities, led group classes, actually owned my own studio gym here, co-owned my own studio gym here in San Diego. That was like a boutique gym where we did personal training and outdoor boot camps because you can do outdoor things in San Diego year round. So that was quite the learning experience because I was 24 at the time, co-owning that, learned a lot about business, learned a lot about what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it. Turns out I don't like having a business partner necessarily. I don't really like being told what I can and can't do, but worked with so many different types of people and also kind of realized that although I was working with like 40-year-olds who had the money to do it or whatever and could dedicate whatever time they needed to, it wasn't my passion. And so I kind of started to think about who am I really passionate about helping? And it turns out that it's like who I was, but 3 years ago type of thing. So then came this desire to stop waking up at 4 a.m., stop training in-person sessions, all day long and get home at 8 p.m. and do it all over again. Hence diving into the online world and actually realizing that I could make such a bigger difference online in people's lives because you know how it goes in personal training. Sometimes you don't get the opportunity to dive into someone's nutrition, into somebody's, the rest of what they're doing with their week. You see them for an hour, it's good, you make them sweat, and they're out of there. And you might not be making a real huge lasting impact in their life or in their results. So I noticed that I could make a bigger difference online. And here we are.
Before opening that in-person spot, right at 24, that's pretty young to be co-owning an in-person brick and mortar business. I mean, when you were at San Diego State, right, and you got your Bachelor of Science in kinesiology, right, is that where you thought that would take you, or is there a different direction that you had?
Absolutely not. An opportunity kind of fell into my lap. I was interning at this little boutique gym that I had mentioned. And turns out the owner got pregnant and wanted to move to Idaho. And so was looking for someone to sell the business to. And since I was the intern and I was just graduating college, she offered me to purchase all of the clients, all of the equipment from her. The business was already established. It had a name, it had a reputation in that neighborhood. And the clients already loved me. They were used to me interning for the past 6 months. And so the opportunity to own it fell into my lap. And I was like, okay, well, I might be dumb to not take this opportunity. And then ended up having a partner to kind of grow it. So absolutely did not think that I would own a business necessarily ever. I knew I loved coaching and that was what I knew. It's obviously led me to own a couple different like businesses at this point, which is a whole different ballgame.
Yeah. So when you jump from intern to owner, right? That's a really weird transition to go without a bunch of intermediary steps. Um, what was that like? Like, did you jump in and you're like, oh shit, now we have payroll. Oh shit, now we got to pay rent. Oh man, I don't know how to do acquisition. Like, I don't know how to run ads. I don't like, what was the initial thing that happened when you went from intern to owner?
It was like, let's learn how to write a newsletter.
Mm.
Let's learn how to use social media for something else than just personal use.
Mm-hmm.
Let's learn how to, yeah, take payment from people. Because, right, up until that point, it was like people were paying me $50 a session. They would see me, they would hand me $50, and that would be it. But now, okay, I need to track people's sessions. I need to set up a PayPal account. The most basic things that you and I know, like the back of our hand now, I was learning for the first time at 24 years old. And it was a trip, but luckily I had the owner mentoring me through every step of the way. And that was so helpful. Like I didn't just get thrown in to the wolves.
Yeah. Did you take a loan to buy it? Did you seller finance? Did you pay it off over time? Like, how did that acquisition happen for you?
She let me pay it off over 6 months, and we decided on a price that I think was really, really fair. I think I ended up paying her like $1,500 a month over a 6 month period. So bought the business for less than 10K
Oh
and
my.
was out without a lawyer, anything like that. I think the owner at the time just saw it as like, if I can make any money off of this business, that's a win for her.
Yeah. Did you push back on the price that she offered, or were you kind of like, this is a wild opportunity? Like, if it comes with some mentorship and we can make it work and I can make it work out of cash flow, like I'm just gonna do it.
I didn't talk to any lawyers or anything like that. I talked to my parents. I mean,
Mhm.
as you do at 24, you talk to your parents, like, does this seem like a fair deal? Does this seem like a good idea? And I saw the numbers of what the business was making like on a recurring basis. And she did the math with me. She's like, if you keep every single client, if you don't add anybody new, this is what you're going to make. And then this is what you'll have to pay me out. And I was like, all right, that adds up.
Yeah. Was the business doing like 20, 50, 60K a month? Was it doing 15K a month? Like what were the margins like?
Oof, I'm gonna have to take just a ballpark guess here, but it was like a little neighborhood
Mhm.
situation. So it wasn't a huge operation or anything. People literally would walk over from their house for like a 6 a.m. boot camp, and there'd be like 15 people there or something. So it wasn't massive, but it was certainly more money than I was making at that current
Mhm.
point in my life. I would say maybe around 8, 10K or something was the recurring.
Okay, so you essentially had to pay her out like 15 to 20% of top line for 6 months, and then you could own this place. So you transfer the LLC to you, like you assume the lease, and you just went that direction.
And there was no lease at that time. It was actually just the boot camp part of it. Later on, when I got the business partner, is when I took on is when we did personal training as well. So at that point, there was so little overhead. Like I had to buy a park permit. That's what I had to, that was my overhead.
Mhm.
So I was buying the equipment from her and the client list from her essentially over that payout. And then that was it. It was a pretty sweet deal. And I learned so much about business. Like I had to go open my business bank account, and I had to I wasn't an LLC, but I had to do the sole proprietorship thing. And like, oh my gosh, business skills that nobody teaches you. Um, and people don't realize is a part of owning a business, and then you're like, oh, this is not fun. um and so learning that at 24, kind of being, I guess, like forced to learn it helped me in my other businesses so much.
Yeah. And so you're 24 when you do that. How long did you stay there before you got out of the in person?
5 years.
Okay. So you got out of there at 29. And how many years younger are you right now?
31.
31. Okay. So got out at 29. So then we've been 3 years fully online for yourself, or did you jump in with somebody else, or how did that transition look?
3 years fully online for myself. When I realized that, so okay, owned the boot camp part for myself. Then a very, very, very close proximity little studio approached me and said, hey, should we just combine our businesses and then we can have the boot camps and do the personal training? And I was like, great. Again, seems like a good idea. Something about me is I'm very decisive, like almost impulsive at times. So if something presents itself to me, I'm like, great, sounds awesome. So we did the indoor and outdoor classes, personal training, boot camps. Then I realized that I didn't really like being told how much money I could take from the business every month. I didn't really like being told what tasks I had to do. That's not why I decided to work for myself and be an entrepreneur. And so I just realized that a business partnership in that way, also my business partner at the time was 10 years older than me. So, and like I was 24, I wanted to travel, I wanted to like have freedom. And my business partner was 34. And so we were at very different parts in our lives. So ultimately decided that she actually bought me out so that she could own the entire thing. And then I just continued to be just her, like her personal trainer there at the gym for the next year and a half or so. Then COVID hits. I can't train anyone in person, obviously, anymore. I'm like doing these virtual bullshit personal training sessions over Zoom. And that's when I really started diving into online coaching. And I was like, I'm not going back to this gym. I'm not going back after COVID. So luckily, I had already been posting my workouts, posting my nutrition, talking about my own journey for years on social media previous to that, because that was just who I was. Like, it wasn't, I didn't have to try that. Posting that stuff was natural for me. And so little did I know I was kind of building a brand, like a personal brand over those years of posting that content. And so when I opened up the doors for online coaching, it was so organic. I mean, I probably had 10 people sign up within the first month.
How many years do you think that you were posting consistently without even making an offer? Because it sounds like you were doing the first part of acquisition here, but just laying the groundwork just over and over and retailing the ground and retailing the ground and retailing the ground, but asking nothing, like just giving, 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 giving. I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. Never making an offer for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years.
At least three.
Good night. So
Yeah.
literally, when people when people look at successful businesses or successful online businesses and they're like, "But coach, I want to be there in 6 months." And you're like, "Hey, listen here, jackass. 36 months of posting content without asking for a single dollar, without making a single dollar off of it. 36 months."
And not only posting content with it, but truly living. That was my life. I was the fitness girl. Like I said, I was training, personal training since I was 20. I did some bodybuilding shows. Like I'm always in the gym.
Mhm.
And so when, yeah, I agree with you. Like this overnight success or this like even switching of industries maybe or switching of careers and getting out of your current career to hop over to coaching and then expecting it to be this overnight success, you have to build your own credibility and personal brand for a fucking while before anybody's going to give a shit.
Yeah. It's a long time. It's not what any program is selling, that you can do this in 6 months, get to this amount of revenue, having zero experience posting online, not having an LLC, not having a business bank account, like being brand new to an industry. I think the industry itself has done pretty poorly. And I think it's a collective problem where we've told everyone that they can make a shit ton of money with little to no work, working 10 to 20 hours, and that'll be that. And I think it's probably not a great thing, right? It's not a net positive. Selling people the vacation or the dream without giving them the foundation, and letting them know they got to go through TSA, got to actually fasten their seatbelt on the plane, got to do all these things. I'm curious on the coaching side though, right? Kind of going back to your coaching pedigree in general. So you get the bachelor's, right? Kinesiology. Why did you jump to MNU as opposed to NASM or ISSA or Precision Nutrition, or going any other place to certify on nutritionists, or not go back and try to do a master's and become an RD?
Mm. So in college, they don't teach you exactly what you need to know. And I can speak for just my industry that I'm in, but I feel like people have this general like thought about college that you get a degree and then you go into your industry and you're like, whoa, I still don't know anything. How is that possible? And so you don't need a degree to become a personal trainer. You do not need a degree. Unfortunately, like you should, but you don't. What I would have been better off getting a degree in is business. I always say that. It would have helped me more to get a degree in business versus kinesiology, but it puts some credibility behind my coaching, yada, yada. So in kinesiology, they teach you very little about nutrition. I mean, very little. I think to get my degree, I must have taken like 2 nutrition courses over the entire 4 years.
Like 3 hour courses, so like 6 hours total, or
Like
like 2 hours.
like 2 semesters
Mm,
worth. But
okay,
I mean, that's like no nutrition 101 and then like nutrition for sports performance.
got it. So like 2 classes, like one per semester, and then that's it. So like maybe on the high end, 6 credit hours technically for a degree.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And that's why you see a lot of people. And it's funny, I've actually coached a lot of girls that I went to college with that got a degree in my major and, are still need to lose weight themselves, still need to, whatever themselves. And so just because you have a degree in something like does not mean that you're one, learning what you actually need to learn to be successful in it, or two, applying it to yourself in any way. And so when I got into and with personal training, I was such a good personal trainer and I never talked to anybody about nutrition ever, which is wild because that is 80 to 90% of your success. And so when I started getting into online coaching and learning about macro tracking, I saw such a huge need and such a huge gap. There was no nutritional knowledge for the average person, like whatsoever. And so I was like, dang, girl, if you want to be a coach that's actually changing people's lives and that actually is setting people up for success, you need to learn more about nutrition yourself. So I hired a coach to help me with my own personal journey. And then I decided to do a nutritional course with a mentor, Martin McDonald, MNU, that I had been following for years, that spoke so freely about like the reality of nutrition on social media, and that mentors that I had just basically said, this is the best program, this is the one you need to do. And it was a year long, and so I knew this is legit.
Yeah. So was it a mentorship as well, or was it simply like just straight up classes and then group calls and exams? Like what did that look like? Because precision nutrition has extra help that you can utilize, but it's not a master's level experience, right? Like if you're worth half your weight in salt, you can get through that and pass it, right? If you're paying attention, you're actually studying, you're actually doing what you need to do. And they provide resources for support, but it's not like what I would call like a cohort or necessarily, a fellowship. I don't want to use that because that's really not terminology for that. That's, postdoc, but it's not that kind of community. You know what I mean? Like, was this more of a community as opposed to just like having courses online?
So everybody is starting at the same time. There's, I think, 2 enrollments per year or something. So yes, you do have a specific cohort. You're all together for a year. You have your own private Facebook group, but there's not a whole lot of tutoring or a whole lot of like extra support. But if you are doing all of the coursework that you're supposed to do and utilizing, there's a great Facebook group and there's a huge, like, it's basically an index of every blog post, every Instagram post, everything Martin's ever written. And so you can go to this big ass Google sheet and look for any topic that you're wondering on. So that was a very valuable thing as well. But it's kind of more like college where you're just kind of watching the slides, taking the test, doing the homework.
Got it. Yeah. So something that's a little bit higher level, right? Like
Yeah.
you got to kind of self guide. You have a framework that we're putting you through. You have people if you want to study together, but like it's going to be on you, right? No hand holding.
Yeah, 100%. And it's not for beginners, really.
Okay.
So, which I was at the point in my career where, cool, let's take this up a notch. Like it's not just macro tracking. Like you're learning chemistry, biology a little bit. You're diving into special cases as far as like eating disorder, obesity, people with diabetes. So it's pretty advanced. I loved it.
Yeah. Well, no, that sounds a little bit more advanced than ISSA or NASM, where you've got a 140 question test and you have, 5 mini case studies that are open book. It's a little bit different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely a little bit different. Well, so you get that. And how far into were you at the training studio running boot camps at that time? Did you get that after you left there? Did you get that when you went online? How'd that come about?
I got that certification about a year into being fully online remote coaching already.
Okay. So you had
I
done
was
all of the
actually,
in-person. Go ahead.
yeah, yeah. And I was actually already coaching nutrition. I just wanted to further my knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, it had been a while since I had put, since I had invested back into my coaching
Mm-hmm.
career.
Yeah.
I mean, similar to you, probably like I had invested into it with systems, mentorships for business. And I was like, why don't I do this to become a better coach right now?
Yeah. Especially if you're going to be frontline with clients. Like if you're sitting backwards, right? You're sitting back, you have a team that's doing implementation and you're just coaching them. I mean, does it make sense for you to go to 14 seminars and get a ton of certifications? Probably not. But if you are client facing, I mean, it does make sense to invest some money into to know what the hell you're talking about. Otherwise, what are we doing, right? We're just a part of the rest of the internet. So you get that certification, right? You're online. You're about a year and a half in. Is this the time that you hired a coach to work up under you, or were you still rocking and rolling by yourself?
I hired my first assistant coach in my business about a year into it.
Okay.
And then when I hired one, I hired another one shortly after, and another one, and another one, and another one until I had five, which was way too many. I had absolutely no business having five coaches and managing five people. And we actually simply didn't have the number of clientele for that to even be necessary. But something happens when you start owning a business and you get this little thing called ego, and then you're like, let's just grow this thing to the moon. And so then realized managing five people is actually not why I'm in this business. Why I'm in this business is to change the lives of women with their nutrition and with their health, and to finally stop them from yo-yoing once and for all, and not to manage people and see if they did their daily tasks and their check-ins, and kind of be more of an HR person. And so then let a couple of those coaches go and do their own thing. And then ultimately this year, as I told you, just decided to go back to doing everything myself. And it's been the best decision ever for me. I love just chatting with my clients. I love just focusing on doing my own thing. And the only people that I'm responsible to is my clients, and not a bunch of staff members. So I've done it all: solo, big team, back down to being solo. And I can tell you, for me personally, it is such the right decision.
Yeah. Why would you say it's the right decision? Because it's what you love to do on a day-to-day basis, or because your clients get a better service with just you, or another reason?
Ooh, all of that. I'm the best coach that we had.
Okay.
My coaches were fucking awesome, don't get me wrong. But they came in the doors, a lot of them came in the doors for me, and then they got, handed off to someone else. And that those girls were great coaches as well. But nobody's going to care as much as you care about your own company and about your own clients. And so, and honestly, I have the most experience out of anyone. Like, they're gonna have the most best positive life-changing outcome with me, in my opinion. So also, when I had a team, I was doing a lot of tasks that, quite frankly, I didn't give a shit about.
Like
I
what?
was
Give me an
doing
example.
team meetings,
Mhm.
checking in on um, if the coaches were posting the social media that they needed to, if they were doing their check-ins properly. Guess how I know if a check-in's done properly? If I do it.
Hmm.
So I just um I like knowing that things are getting done the way that I want them to because I'm doing them myself. And I don't think it's like a lack of control thing. I think it's just a lack of, or it's just a stepping into like, Christy, what are you good at? And what do you want to fill your day with? And what are the tasks that you want to do at the end of the day? I love doing check-ins. I love writing programs. I love talking to my women. Like that shit fires me up. And so I ask myself, why are you not spending the majority of your time doing this? And the answer was, I don't know. So choosing to scale back and um, just be in the coaching has been the best decision for me this year.
How do you think you got to a place where you were detached from who you wanted to be as a coach?
Can you rephrase that? Sorry.
How do you think you got to a place where you looked up and you were like, why the hell do I have a big team and I'm not coaching?
Mm. I was told to do things a certain way, and I saw a lot of my peers doing things a certain way. And so then you assume, well, this must be the way to do it. Even if maybe in your soul and your gut and your intuition, it might not feel that great, you kind of are taught to push past that, taught to just get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I agree with that. But there's not only one way to do things.
Mm.
There's so many ways to run a successful company. There's so many ways to be a great coach and a great mentor. It doesn't have to look this cookie cutter way for every person. And so I think I had this feeling that was slowly creeping up, being like, for example, anxiety before team meetings that I didn't really want to have. I don't want to have anxiety before doing a lot, before doing most tasks in my business. You're going to always have to do some things that you don't want to do, but the feeling of not enjoying checking up on my team, talking to my team, um, it wasn't fair to them either. And so I had to just, I think one day I kind of was like, are you being honest with yourself and what you really want? And the answer was very clearly no. And that feeling, it just kind of builds up and over time until one day it slaps you and you're like, all right, time to make a change.
And if you had to say that pressure to run your business one type of way or another, do you think that it came more from mentorships that you were part of, or more from seeing your peers having success with that business model and you wanting to do that?
Absolutely both of those. And peers that I knew closely and peers that I didn't know, right? Just people, coaches, other people that you're seeing on social media. Wow, they all have a big team. They all have a bunch of coaches. They're doing things this one way. And so that's obviously working for them, even though you have no idea what's working for anybody because it's all a facade.
Mm-hmm.
And so just being like, all right, I can replicate that as well, and kind of ignoring, like, again, gut feelings or intuition feelings of like, is this really what you want to be spending your time doing? And I got to the point where it was very successful. I mean, we were having really, really, really great months, and I was doing a whole bunch of shit that I didn't want to do.
Yeah. And so then essentially your business success or your monetary success is at the expense of what you love and what sets you on fire. And so it's kind of like you can have all the money in the world, but the more money is not going to make you happy. Like unless you're enjoying the process, you're really not going to be able to get there anyways.
100%.
Do you think that there's a hybrid solution here for you long term, right? Because I would have to assume that you're in coaching and you're staying in coaching, even with a ton of opportunities flying around, you're staying coaching B2C because of what you just said, that your ladies fire you up. You love to hear about their stories. You love to communicate with them. Do you think that there's a hybrid scenario where you have a full client load yourself and you bring in coaches that also have that, but the volume of the business can support that where you are still taking your own clients?
So I think the long-term solution for me as I move into a different part of my life where I'll need to be prioritizing some different things. I'm actually working on that solution right now, and that's going to be a rebrand for my business and to build a more standalone, sustainable brand versus being just a single coach that people know and love. And so I'm actually rebranding to the Lean Queen lifestyle soon here, and probably going to do like an app, probably going to do a little more passive revenue stuff so that I don't have to spend, you know, 15 hours a week doing one-to-one check-ins. So that's a little bit more of my kind of long-term solution. Do I think that the long-term solution for me is to have coaches under me and stuff? I can't tell you no, but right now, no. I'm PTSD from managing people.
Yeah. Well, and I think that it makes sense to have varying degrees of like do it yourself, DIY, done with you, done for you. It sounds like maybe, a potential solution is that you have these more passive things where they're one-off purchases or subscriptions or what have you that have group capabilities to communicate with you. And then you jack up your one-on-one so that you can actually give them the time that's worth that the money is worth to actually help them there, and kind of stay a little bit more lean, right? Yourself as a business. Am I tracking what you're saying?
That's exactly the plan.
Okay. And talk to me about, I know that we're running short on time here. So first, where did your wonderful man's come into the picture of all of this? Was he here at the in-person gym? Was he here walking down the street in San Diego and sees you? Was he here? Like, how did y'all get together, and where in your journey does he fall in?
So like James said earlier, I am married, newly married-ish, almost a year now. And I know this may come as a huge surprise, but me and my husband met at the gym. So I was personal training.
Shocked.
I know. I was personal training clients at a big gym here in San Diego and like doing my own thing. And we had just exchanged some glances over the last couple of months. But I actually was not single when I first noticed him.
Mm.
And so then I became single and I saw him one day and I gave him the full up down stare from head to toe. And I told myself, all right, if that man's single, he will realize that that was the look. He did realize that was the look because I had a new follower on Instagram later that day. And then his pickup line on Instagram was, I don't know what your macros are looking like, but I would love to take you out for coffee sometime. So
Slick.
he knew the way to my heart. Went out for actually Taco Tuesday and never looked back from there. So that was about 4 years ago now, actually, almost to the day here.
4 years ago, y'all got married about three years in. Is that right? My math
Correct.
right? About
Yes.
three or 2.75 to 3 years in.
Yes.
And his support for you, 1 to 10, where's he at?
11.
11. In all things business, and the change from you going from a big team to solo, is he fully supportive? Does he engage in combos on how to help you get there? Like what does that look like?
He will notice my level of either stress or enjoyment in my work. And he's mostly a sounding board. And so he's not a big like, I'm going to tell you what to do or tell you like where I think you should go, but let me listen and give you a little bit of feedback if you want it, if you desire it, but has supported every single decision and realizes that I'm the professional here. And also, I'm going to do what I want no matter what. So,
Yeah. Sounds like the man's practicing patient attentiveness.
does that have a name?
It
Yeah.
does have a name. It's
Okay.
active listening with the ability to let someone vent, right? And only offer feedback if desired. And that's straight up what you just laid out right there. Your man's is living in that role right there. So he comes along about 4 years ago. He starts rocking and rolling, probably is obviously supportive of what you're doing, is there to be a sounding board. Y'all get married. Before you got married, though, didn't you start jujitsu like not that far before y'all got married?
I actually started it right before we met, like right before he slid into the DMs. I signed up at the gym, got my white belt. He actually mentioned that in the DMs. He said, "Did they teach you any takedowns yet?"
Mm.
So he was using my lingo. He was really good. And so yeah, I've been doing jujitsu for about almost 4 years to the day here as well.
Heck yeah. Any plans? Have you competed? Have you gone to like any tourneys or anything like that?
James, I'm a big, fat, giant scaredy cat. I haven't competed
Are
at
you
all.
fucking kidding me,
I
Christy?
know I should
You're
have
a
done it.
blue belt.
I should have done it at white belt because that's what everybody says, but I'm a blue belt now, and I'm too scared of how good everybody is.
You could absolutely go into an open division. Do you prefer gi or no gi?
Gi.
Why?
It's just what I learned. Nogi's pretty fun though, I won't lie. It's just quick. It's really quick since you can't make a lot of grips and stuff.
Yeah, your transitions have to be faster. You'll get caught for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Do you is jujitsu something that you've been consistently doing once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week?
So I'm not a crazy like train every day type of person. I know a lot of people, especially at white belt, they get obsessed with jujitsu. They start training 5 days a week and then they actually quit before they ever get blue belt. So I decided to pace myself and I train twice a week.
Heck yeah. And how does jujitsu overall fit into the lean queen lifestyle, right? That you're trying to live, where you're not cutting out sweets, you're not cutting out alcohol completely, you're not, restricting yourself to the point where you're dying over here. How does jujitsu fit into all the other stuff that you're doing?
I think the biggest thing, honestly, is getting outside of your comfort zone. I never in my life pictured myself doing a martial art.
Mm-hmm.
I decided to do it because of some friends that said I would love it. But it's being comfortable with doing something extremely uncomfortable and putting yourself out there and showing up when you don't fucking feel like it. That's a large part of what I preach, is keeping the promises that you've made to yourself. And with jujitsu, I would always try and talk myself out of going to class at night, tell myself I'm too tired, and then ultimately end up there because I know I can't break the promises I've made to myself.
You think that that's been the biggest mover or shaker for you of discipline?
Absolutely. Who wants to go show up to a class and get choked out and get your face smothered and get your eyelashes ripped out and be so bad at something and still come back the next day? That's very few people want to do something like that. But once you put yourself in that scenario over and over again, you kind of realize, I can do this in every aspect of my life.
Do you think that jujitsu was perhaps like that repetitive hitting your face into the ground and getting choked out and getting kimura'd and triangled day in, day out with no ability to stop it from any man or woman, large, small, tall, all the experiences? Do you think that some of that informed your decision to ultimately go back to being a solopreneur on the coaching side?
I don't know how much they are related. I'm not sure, but I do know that something in jujitsu that you have to do is be resilient as shit and learn to not tap, like learn to just finish the round, learn to score them out of situations, learn to just like when you think you can't breathe anymore because somebody's sitting on top of your chest, just take it one breath at a time. Don't tap from pressure. Like just roll with it, finish the round. And then guess what? You get to start over. You get a fresh round after that. So I don't know. Sometimes in business, it can feel suffocating. It can feel like, can I just tap here? Can I just like maybe start over and get a fresh start? But if you take it like day after day, moment after moment, um, that's how you have to take it.
Yeah. And the reason why I asked that question at all is because I think that probably has a lot to do with you leaning into discomfort in other places. And so I was just curious if you've tried to put those things together or tried to reverse engineer that at all, because I know that the cats that I know that are entrepreneurs that also do jujitsu are far more resilient, right? The ones that do martial arts, far more resilient. The ones that die in the gym that will push themselves to the point where they feel like they're going to pass out, far more resilient in business than those that are weak little bitches. Pardon my French, weak little bitches in any physicality, right? Massive difference. Huge gap. So I know that we're out on time here, so we are going to wrap there. Where can the people find you? We will have to do this again. There's many more things that I wanted to talk about your coaching journey, who you're serving, why you're serving them, why we went down that path. So we'll have to do it again. But where can the people find you if they want to learn more about either of your coaching businesses? They want to work with you. They want to see the updates that are coming. Where can they find you?
So C Misty is my Instagram, CMISTYY. You can find out all of the Lean Queen lifestyle things there. If you happen to be someone who is into combat sports in any way, I do have a second business where we talk about nutrition and write your diet program for anyone trying to go up or down a weight class. So if you are an MMA or Jujitsu person, Fight Cut Nutrition is where you can find me. And we will absolutely have to do this again because I know there's so much more for us to talk about, James.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming out. And hold on 2 seconds. I'm going to stop the recording there.